Motion passes. 1C. Canvass the votes for Proposition A regarding the reauthorization of local sales and use tax for maintenance and repair of municipal streets. Again, Janet Dillard, our city secretary, will make a presentation.
Yep, Proposition A received a majority vote for the proposition with 438 votes and 88 against, so this was approved. And also, all of these have been posted to the city's website if you have trouble seeing it or would like to look at it later.
Thank you. 1D, consider and take action to adopt ordinance number 0-2024-014, accepting the canvassing of returns and declaring the results of Proposition A regarding the reauthorization of local sales and use tax for maintenance and repair of municipal streets. I'd like to read into the record the ordinance number 0-2024-014, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas, canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the election held on May 4th, 2024, for the purpose of reauthorization of the local sales and use tax in Gun Barrel City at the rate of 1/4 of 1% to continue providing revenue for maintenance and repair of municipal streets and providing an effective date. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Move that we take action to adopt ordinance number 0-2024-014, accepting the canvassing of returns and declaring the results of Proposition A regarding the reauthorization of local sales tax and use tax for maintenance, repair of municipal streets.
Key second.
I have a motion and a second. Vote from my left, please.
Burns, yes.
Evans, yes.
Key, yes.
Foss, yes.
Motion passes. 1E on our agenda, canvass votes for charter propositions 1 through 13. Again, I will allow the city secretary, Janet Dillard, to make a presentation.
So I will run through these really quick, just to let everyone know all of the propositions did pass. Proposition 1 now allows city council members and the mayor to serve 3-year terms. That was a 4 vote of 296. Proposition 2, amended language regarding the mayor pro tem, allowing them to retain the right to vote, not have the power to veto, and perform all the duties of the mayor in their absence, with a vote of 414, 107 against. Proposition 3, amended language regarding calling a special election should there be a vacancy in the office of the mayor, and that passed with 484 votes. Proposition 4, amended language regarding calling a special city council meeting, and that passed with 420 votes, opposed to 100. Proposition 5, amended language to require all ordinance be published in the paper as well as on the city's website. And that passed with 451 votes. Proposition 6, amended language regarding the city council's ability to summon witnesses rather than subpoena. And that was approved with 324 votes. Proposition 7, amended the requirement of the city manager to reside within the city limits within 12 months from date of hire and also in accordance with their employment contract. And that was passed with 464 votes. Proposition 8 added a section for the associate judge that wasn't listed, and that was approved with 389 votes. Proposition 9, amended language that would allow an elected official to continue to serve in their position after filing for another office, and that passed with 355 votes. Proposition 10, amended language to require a council member to have a 1-year gap between their term and appointment to another board or commission. Proposition 11, amended language to coincide with state law regarding planning and zoning, receiving and approving plats and proposals, and that passed with 452 votes. Proposition 12, deleted language regarding the automatic approval of plans. So this one also aligns with state law, and that passed with 401 votes. And lastly, Proposition 13 amended language to allow non-exclusive franchises, and that passed with 380 votes.
Thank you, Janet. We'll now move to 1F. Consider and take action to adopt ordinance number 0-2024-015, accepting the canvassing of returns and declaring the results of the charter propositions 1 through 13. I will now read the ordinance into the record. Ordinance number 0-2024-015, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas, canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the Home Rule Charter Amendment election held on May 4th, 2024, and providing an effective date. Do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt ordinance number O-2024-015, accepting the canvassing of the returns and declaring the results of charter propositions 1 through 13.
Evans, second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll ask for a vote from my left, please.
Burns, yes.
Evans, yes. Key, yes.
Voss, yes.
Motion passes. Moving on our agenda to 1G, to consider and/or take action to approve a revocable license agreement between Gun Barrel City and Shoreman Airport, LLC, for location at 1145 Harbor Point Road for the installation of parking spaces in the city's right-of-way. I will allow our city planner now, Brooke Atkinson, will make a presentation.
Hello. Today I'm presenting the revocable license agreement between Gun Barrel City and Shoreman Airport, LLC, addressing the need for additional parking spaces on Harbor Point Road. This license agreement aims to facilitate the installation and maintenance of 9 parking spaces in compliance with our city regulations while accommodating the operational needs for Shoreman Airport, LLC. This agreement grants Shoreman Airport, LLC permission to use the city's right-of-way to build and maintain 9 additional parking spaces, effectively helping them meet the parking requirements outlined in 156.065 off-street parking of our city code for non-residential use. In addition to the 7 parking spaces within their property lines, which is not in the right-of-way, so their plans have 7 parking spaces on their property. This provision ensures that Shoreman Airport can fulfill the total requirement of 9 parking spaces as mandated by the city code. Last month, City Council voted and granted a special use permit to the developer to allow for the construction of a warehouse. For this applicant to be awarded the special use permit, the applicant must adhere to 156.065 of the city code, which is what I've laid out here. This is the right-of-way in question, and the property that I outlined in red is the property that's requesting the use of the right-of-way. And then those are surrounding buildings of the property. The blue line is where the right-of-way is located, and then all of those things that are in between the blue line and the street is where we're talking about. This is the survey of the proposed property, and the highlighted portion is the proposed 9 parking spaces, which would make the property in compliance with requirements previously stated. And this is the street view of the property. It's important to note that this agreement is non-transferable and ensures public access to the right-of-way. And Shoreman is responsible for maintaining the license area and good repair throughout the agreement period. And there's a representative of the applicant here if you would like to ask him any questions.
Questions for staff, council?
I have a question. What is Shoreman Airport LLC? I thought the airstrip was owned by certain group of people and all the hangars were owned otherwise.
My name's Alan Stafford. My daughter asked me to come
Thank you.
to help today. I'm old, and they have different properties, and the only way I can remember them is by put a funny name with them. And so I remember this one because it's next to the airport, and their name is Shoreman. So I did it. It was my fault.
I was just wondering, so you're not representing the airport per se, it's just a name?
I don't even know who owns the airport. No.
Okay.
I have a real short, funny story. One, we were looking at in Dallas, and the guy that was selling it put his head up above the fence and said, "Howdy, howdy," to me. And we named that one Shoreman Wilson, after Home Improvement. So all of them have that kind of helped me remember.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
Okay. Could I say one additional thing?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mr. Stafford.
We are very appreciative to the kindness and assistance we've received from the city staff in this process. And I think they just went beyond what would be expected. The building's still a spec. There's no renters, but we promise we won't have anything that smells bad or explodes or recycles metal.
Or manufacturing.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
So I just want to make sure, because I was a little confused with that diagram she provided, but the right-of-way we're doing is only right in front of this, where this building will be. See, it's not like we're doing it all the way down the road where the blue line is. It's just going to be in front of where the red square is, correct? All right, thank you.
Yes.
On that lot.
The empty lot, yes, so we can have adequate parking.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford.
Thank you.
Are you in agreement, City Manager?
The Shoremans already have a right-of-way agreement with us. Janet, can you please pull that picture back up for me? They already, they own the building that has Impact Athletics, and you can see in that picture, they already have a right-of-way agreement. The only way for Elizabeth to get the necessary parking spots that are required by our code is to do this right-of-way agreement. So we had two options. We either did a right-of-way agreement with her to allow her to do parking, or we granted her a variance not to have enough parking spots. This is the better of the two options in the long run for us. It doesn't tie our hands if we ever decide that we want to widen that road, and it helps her accomplish her goal of not asking for any special variances to get this building in there and get her on her way. We have worked long and hard to get her where she needs to be, and this is the final step in that. So, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, for that clarification. Any other further questions, council? Do I have a motion?
I move that we take action to approve a revocable license agreement between Gun Barrel City and Shoreman Airport LLC for our location at 1145 Harbor Point Road for the installation of parking spaces in the city's right-of-way.
Evans, second.
Have a motion and a second. May I have a vote from my left, please?
Burns, yes?
Evans, yes. Key, yes.
Votes yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Stafford, I appreciate those stories. I do that a lot myself. I thought I was the only one. You made me feel really good tonight. Thank you. It's okay. Okay, we're now moving to a work session. Dr. Smith will go to the podium at this point in time. We will go to item 2A, a discussion regarding July Fest. And I will now acquiesce to our city manager, Dr. Smith.
I'm coming around here just because it's easier for me to look at you and talk to you than sit at the end and talk to you. We have a couple of items on the agenda tonight. I know sometimes when you guys go into a work session, you come down to the tables in the middle of the room. And that's great, but it's very hard to hear, and we don't have enough microphones. And so this will be a little bit more of a conversation. We're using the work session tonight to talk to you about July Fest, to talk to you about the rework of our short-term rental ordinance, And then Brooke is going to roll out our new website that will go live tomorrow. So let's first talk about July Fest. This team has put together July Fest for a very long time. It is an amazing event. We sell tickets to it. It's kind of the coveted celebration of the city at the end of July 27th, right, Mickey Rainey? Not the end of June, and then you wonder why it's called July Fest. It's actually at the end of July. So we kind of got away from doing a July 4th event because everybody did July 4th events. And so we're super excited about this. Next slide, Janet. It's just kind of the highlights. This is ticket information, and links for tickets will be available soon. We'll get the EventNe website up. We'll have a QR code for people to go in and be able to buy tickets, but we wanted to announce to council tonight first who our headliners are.
Okay.
Next slide. That's kind of the breakdown. We'll have an opening band. We're still firming up that opening band. There'll be a 30-minute break. We'll have a band from 8:30 to 9:30. We'll have the national anthem contest like we've done in the past. That'll happen at 9:30. Followed by a drone show. Sorry, I'm losing it up here. A drone show of 500 drones, and then at 10:15 we'll have our headline band. Additional activities will include vendor booths. We're again partnering with the chamber on our vendor booths, and then a kids area, and we're going to partner with our Parks Board on that. So the first headliner, 8:30 to 9:30, is going to be country artist Mike Ryan. He's kind of a Texas country. He's a Texas boy at heart. He's a native from San Antonio. He attended the University of North Texas, and in 2015, he won the new Male Vocalist of the Year. He's really picked up, and he's playing in a lot of festivals right now. So he'll be kind of the opening band from 8:30 to 9:30. And then the headliner this year is Pat Green. And if you don't know anything about Pat Green, he is Texas pride all the way. I've seen him a number of times. He'll play from 10:15 to roughly 11:45. He was born in San Antonio, graduated from Texas Tech. He is a Texas legend. Mr. Rainey, our treasurer, did an amazing job working with Brad Wise from Wise Entertainment to secure Pat, and we're super excited to have him here because he bleeds Texas if he doesn't bleed anything else. So he now, go back one more slide for me real quick. He has over 2 million albums sold and over 200 million career streams. That means he's been played live over the internet that many times. And he's just known to put on an amazing show. So this is the flyer that's about to pop up. The July Fest, July 27th, Pat Green and Mike Ryan. You will see these signs start going around town. They'll start going up now so we can get them up before the holiday weekend. April, sitting at my seat are some copies. If you guys want just some copies that I printed, I forgot to pass them down before I got up here because that would have given away all the fun of who the headliner was. But you can pass those down. You'll start seeing these signs go up. Mickey and I also talked today about potentially putting one at the boat ramp, putting some out at the park, getting some bigger banners to hang at those places way in before the Memorial Day holiday and the July 4th holiday, so we'll make sure we have the QR code and get everything on there. So we're super excited. Hopefully you are too. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about those entertainers with my support system.
We have an approved budget for this. We've approved, have we not?
Now, that was one of the budgets we brought to you a couple meetings back to
Yes.
look at, and the Brad Wise Entertainment contract. So they're a huge partner. We will sell tickets online. We'll sell tickets the day of. So we're super excited.
And the drone show includes the credit that we got for the
It
back
does.
drone
If
show?
this drone show actually is coming to you free of charge due to the reverse show last year.
I have one. Why isn't it red, white, and blue?
Those are the colors this year, yellow and black. I don't know that they'll stay that way, but they're super easy to see from the road, and I know that's why he did them. You know, one of the things we ran into, I think some of you have heard me say, when we did the Dark in the Park, our signs were a little hard to read, so we tried to make them super clear. But we can change it to blue if you would prefer blue, or they're just easy to see and yellow and black from the road. So we stayed with that theme.
And are the tickets about the same as they were last year? Like more, are they higher than they were last year? Do you know?
They should be the same. If you go back a couple slides, they're up there. I stole that information from Brooke, so if it's wrong, it's Brooke's fault. In advance, they'll be $25. Day of event, they'll be $30, and kids under 10 will get in free. We will have a small charge for the kids area. Parks Board is going to partner with us to man that and volunteer and do the bracelets. That's Mickey Rainey, our treasurer. So those are coming, and we'll have a QR code that you can scan and buy tickets, and so we're super excited. Pat Green's amazing. If you've not seen him in concert, go watch some videos. He's amazing. I just saw him at Green Hall.
One last request is to turn the heat down.
Okay. April will have her own personal chiller at the event,
so
so
hot
if
up
y'all would like to go stand beside her. Kidding, I'm kidding.
You have a misting tent.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no more questions about this one,
No further discussion? Now moving to 2B, a discussion regarding short-term rentals, contract with Avenue Insights and Analytics. Again, I will refer to Dr. Smith.
so with this one as well, this item you will not take action on tonight. This is a discussion item. I very likely will not have all the answers to your questions, but I'm happy. I brought my iPad. I'll take notes unless it starts updating, and then I will defer to Janet and Brooke to help me out with this. But one of the things that we talked about, if you'll go back one slide, one of the things that we talked about when I first started with the team is Gun Barrel has a lot of short-term rentals. And we have an ordinance in place, and we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. But there was some desire to strengthen that a little bit. And I think several months ago, I sent that out to council. We talked about it. I met with a couple of different people. The company that currently collects our hotel motel tax for us is Avenue, and we met with them. Mickey and I met with them a number of times. They actually have an ordinance specialist who has written a recent book on staff that met with us and went through and helped us kind of decide what direction to go. And this presentation you see tonight is a culmination of a lot of information. Councilman Foster went out and met with a couple of people that had short-term rentals and brought me pages and pages of notes. Councilman Jacobs did the same, went through it with a fine-tooth comb, talked to some folks about what was really working for them and what were some challenges they were seeing. I met with our police department, our fire department, our internal staff. So we've spent a lot of time working on this with your feedback to kind of get where we are today. Next slide, Janet. So the first step in this is updating our ordinance. Gun Barrel City has an ordinance. It's not very long. The current one is not very long, and it spends a lot of time giving you links to different ordinances. So if you really want to know, you got to click and go find something else, right? The new ordinance is all in one place, and it's all inclusive. It is based on the ordinance that Arlington, Texas passed a number of years ago, and it has stood the test of the court system, which is the most important thing as a city that we can make sure that our ordinance does. People put a lot of ordinances into place over the last 5 years for short-term rentals, and we've seen a little bit of everything, and some are a little more restrictive, and they get to court and they don't hold up, and we want to make sure that if our ordinance is ever tested, we 100% will stand the test of our court system, and that was our goal. So we also worked very closely with our city attorney. This ordinance is much more comprehensive, and you can see there two of the main things that we really did is work on definitions. So we defined what a bedroom is. These are updates between this new ordinance and our old ordinance. So we defined what a bedroom is. It's a living area of the dwelling unit and furnished for sleeping with proper egress, right? And that's a big focus of the new ordinance is that we have a layout of the house, and people that are in the house can get out of the house, and there is a way out of the house in case there is an emergency. We also defined premises, and that's the property, plot, or parcel, including all the structures on it. We call out unpermitted short-term rentals being prohibited. Our current ordinance doesn't do that. It says, hey, here's our ordinance, but it doesn't say you can't have one unless you follow our ordinance. So our new ordinance will do that. The new ordinance will require more detailed information on the permit, including a dimensional floor plan so that our public safety team knows where people are sleeping if there is ever an emergency. A copy of the rules are included with their permit and at the location, and a POA contact information if there is a POA or HOA. That's very important because these guys provide us a turnkey service, and they need to be able to get in touch with somebody if there is ever an issue. The new ordinance gives all the information without directing them to other ordinances or codes. The new ordinance requires designation of a responsible party. So if I'm the owner and I come in and I get my registration, I get my permit, and I don't live here and I'm never going to check on that thing, and I have a third party, this requires them, when they fill out the permit, to designate a responsible party for that rental. So if there is ever an issue, Avenue has someone they can call that will answer the phone. It also requires proof of insurance, which our current ordinance does not. Next slide, Janet. It does provide a restriction on the number of occupants. So it's 2 persons per bedroom plus 2 additional persons. So if it's a 3-bedroom house, that's 6 plus 2 additional would make the limit 8. So if you slept on a couch, for example, right? Our recommended ordinance does have no more than 12 occupants at any one time. It is my understanding that we may have a house with 7 bedrooms. We could change that to 14 if you want. If council wants to make that recommendation, I'm happy to include that in there. I just was made aware that we do have at least one house that potentially has 7 bedrooms. The goal here is to limit how many people are sleeping in a short-term rental at any given time. And again, this comes back to public safety, making sure we know if there's 3 bedrooms, the biggest potential they have is 8 people. So that's how many people we got to make sure are out if there is ever a fire. So that's kind of why this is so important. It also includes a parking restriction, which our current ordinance does not. And it says it's limited to the number of available off-street parking spots. If you can park 5 cars in the driveway, you can park 5 cars in the driveway. If you can only park 2 cars in the driveway, you're only allowed 2 cars. And this is very, very common. I stay in a lot of short-term rentals all over the state of Texas. I'm staying in one in San Diego this weekend, and all of them have parking restrictions on how many cars you can have so people aren't parked in the front yard, right? And it says no, this ordinance actually calls out no parking on an unimproved surface, which means you can't park in the dirt, you can't park in the front yard, you can't park in the street unless there is on-street parking. We added also a minimum stay requirements. We say no rentals under 24 hours. This is an issue they had actually in Arlington. They would rent it and spend all day there and go to the game and leave. And that's a short rental, and so you want them to have buy-in and be there overnight and take the trash out and take care of all their business and do all that good stuff. But there are a lot of other reasons you don't want a rental under 24 hours as well. We added a sound equipment restriction. This is really just a noise, part of our noise ordinance from 10 p.m. to 9 a.m., and curfew requirements for no congregation of occupants between 10 p.m. and 9 a.m. As a neighbor, everybody's out being loud. That fell in line with our sound ordinance. We also, to the new ordinance, added a revocation of permit process and an appeal process. So we just added steps in that would allow us to revoke someone's permit and how they would appeal that process. And that was in the ordinance that I sent you. And I do not have it memorized, and I don't have a copy up here, but if you have questions about it, I'll make a note of them and I'll make sure that we get answers. Next slide, please, Janet. So our current process, you come in, you're an owner, you come into the city, you pay a $200 permit fee, you apply at City Hall. Our permit tech up front, Brittany Lewis, schedules you a inspection, either with our building official, our fire marshal, our code enforcement officer, some combination of the 3. And then you register with Avenue to pay your taxes online. So 3 steps, right? You have to come in here and get your permit. You have to get an inspection, so we hand you your permit, and then you have to take an additional step and apply with Avenue to pay your hotel motel taxes online. Current hard costs, so we figure it takes about an hour and a half for inspection. Sometimes they have to go back. Some are much quicker. Some take much longer because they're not ready for their inspection. But the staff time for processing a permit, inspection, and cost for online collection is about $19,000. It's costing us $120 per short-term rental with Avenue, and then it's taking us about an hour and a half, and so it's costing about $8,900 a year to do these permits for staff time, actual staff time to go out, get their permits, get their inspections, do all that. There are additional soft costs to Gun Barrel, right? Public safety services, for noise complaints and trash complaints, emergency response if there is an incident for our fire department to go out, management of the program, so our code enforcement officer making sure, and our treasurer making sure people are registering, making sure they're paying their taxes, verifying rentals. Currently, because they have to come to us, we have to constantly go out and look to see who's advertising a short-term rental that they haven't let us know and they haven't gotten a permit. And then tracking down those rentals, and that's something that our code enforcement officer helps us with. We currently have about 85 short-term rentals. So the permit revenue to the city today is $17,000. It cost us in hard costs about $19,000 to administer the program. So we're currently operating at a deficit of about $2,100, right? And that's not including any of our public safety costs. Next slide, please, Janet. So this is our proposed process. Our permit fee would move up to $500 per rental. You will approve, or I will ask council to approve that revised ordinance, either in its state it looks today or with your feedback that we talk about tonight. The new process is we will partner with Avenue for it's called Compliance 360, which is a turnkey system. They go to the Avenue website. Avenue's going to go look for rentals nonstop. So 24 hours a day, they're searching for people who have STRs listed on over 10,000 websites. They send them a card, they send them a letter, they say, hey, log in. You log in, you register with them, you pay your $500 permit fee to them. They call us and say, go do the inspection. So we still have costs, right? But it's a one-stop shop through Avenue now. They're not having to do two processes. There's a $5,000 setup fee for us to get this all set up with Avenue. And then they charge us $255 per property annually. And that includes the turnkey service. Staff will still have to go do inspections, but they will just come and do an inspection, let Avenue know that it has passed and we have all the information, that the property has what they need. Avenue will make sure they have all their proper information in. They believe there are about 135 or 136 short-term rentals based on a quick search before I met with them, right? Now, granted, some people only put their short-term rentals up on Friday night at 5 o'clock and take them down on Sunday night at 9 o'clock. So they're only advertised during the weekend. They sometimes, like Tuesday is the biggest day for short-term rentals. So they may only put it up for 12 hours on Tuesday, and if it doesn't rent, they take it down. And they're doing that to avoid the system of getting caught by the cities and making them get permits and follow all of our rules. So if there are approximately 136 properties in Gun Barrel, some of which are not registered with us or have not paid their taxes, the permit revenue would be $68,000. The cost to administer the program is about $48,000. The benefit to GBC to help offset the other costs with short-term rentals, public safety. We're still going to get calls, right? We're still going to get code enforcement calls. We're still going to get some calls that puts us in the black and allows us to see a little revenue from the management of this program, which is time-consuming and tough because then, if we get a trash complaint, for example, or we get a high yard, Mike's still going to get, our code enforcement officer is still going to get that call and still have to take them all the way through that process, just like they would any other resident. Next slide, please, Janet. We can go back to any of these. So you heard me talk a little bit about the Compliance 360. This is all the things that it includes. I also included in your packet a copy of the contract, which goes into even more detail about the things that they do. But they're an advanced tax portal, so people can just log in and pay their hotel motel taxes right there in Avenue's website. They do permitting, so it's a one-stop shop for all of our owners. They do tax collection and remittance, so if they don't pay their taxes, Avenue helps us collect those. They do discovery and recovery, and that means they identify, monitor, and recover unknown and new STRs. So they change every day, and they're constantly watching that with their software to find any new STR that pops up in Gun Barrel City. So we make sure that we collect the revenue from that. They do community outreach. They have a 24/7 hotline. So if my next door neighbor has an STR and they're having a party, that's going to be the first person that you can call. That's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 1-800 number. They have a service that answers the phone and contacts that responsible party, which is why that responsible party is so important. They can also work directly with our POAs or our HOAs if there's an issue with a short-term rental. They also will help address complaints, educate the community on local ordinances and procedures. They have full service reporting. They have an entire dashboard on their website that we'll have access to at any given time. We'll be able to see all of that information. They do compliance auditing to make sure everybody's paying their taxes. That's one of the problems we have now. We had people that registered in 2019. Their permit expired. If we didn't catch it, then they don't have a permit and they're operating a short-term rental and they're not paying taxes. So we've had a couple, even since I started, that now have to catch their taxes up, and they're going to help us prevent that from happening. And they do all the payment processing right on their website. So it takes that out of us handling all of that, and it goes directly to them, and then they take care of that from that end. Next slide, please, Janet. So this is just a snapshot of some information that they provided me, just to give you a little bit of, it was a real wake-up call for me, right? So they predict there are about 136 short-term rentals active in Gun Barrel City. Currently, we have 85 that we can account for. There are 134 that it's the entire home. There are 2 that they believe are shared homes. So maybe I live in half and I rent the other half, or I rent out a bedroom. The gross estimated per year for our 136 short-term rentals is $816,000 in Gun Barrel City. We expect to see an increase in about $57,000. So Ms. Rainey confirmed to me today, we believe our current short-term rental hotel motel tax contribution every year is about $150,000 in hotel motel taxes just from short-term rentals. We have 4 hotels. The rest of that, the $150,000 is just from short-term rentals. Next slide, Janet. This is a hot map of Gun Barrel City that shows you where our jurisdiction boundaries are. Green are, I believe, the small concentration of STRs, yellow is a medium, and red is a high. So in each of those areas, there might be multiple ones within those red circles that are all centrally. You can kind of see where they're located. Next slide, please, Janet. So this is the type of properties. The majority are houses. We have a small percentage of other, which might be an apartment or a condo or like a garage apartment, for example. Most of them are the entire home. And then you can see there the number of bedrooms. So the majority of ours have 3 bedrooms, but we also have a lot with 4 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, and some 1 and 2 bedroom. Revenue, the average nightly rate, they did a histogram on the rentals they found. The average nightly rate is $390.99. And you can see there the number of properties by operator. So the majority of our operators only own and operate 1 property. But we do have some that have 2, 3, even 5 properties, and it's one owner or manager that manage all of those. Next slide, please, Janet. And I will do my best to answer questions. I'm not an expert, but tonight is really more about work session and us deciding if there are changes you want made to the ordinance. So I'm happy to answer questions or smile and nod. I'm good at that.
That's unbelievable information. I think it's eye-opening for a lot of people. I want to clarify, too, and I know you and I have discussed, the third party must answer the phone call. So they have to have a valid number or they will be in violation. You can't just say, I'm not going to answer, or I put these people in charge and they didn't answer. That's not going to fly anymore. So they will actually be held to the fire with that. And I think that's really, really important. There has to be a contact.
And the goal, Mayor, is not for police to be the first contact, right?
Absolutely.
The goal is for the homeowner to be held, or the responsible party to be held responsible for the house that they're renting. And so instead of our policemen having to stop what they're doing and go to a noise ordinance call, right? The hope is that you can call, and I've seen this happen. Like I said, I stay in a lot of short-term rentals, and I have since 2020. It's something we do. We do that now more than we do hotels. And the owner will call you. Like if there's a problem, they will, that's something that the owners are really being held accountable for, is the rentor being able to get in touch with you if there's a problem, but you being able to get in touch with the rentor as well to stop those actions before we have to dispatch emergency services or police services, because they got to stop what they do and go tell a house full of kids they can't be so loud at midnight, right? And so the goal is to be able to, and there's this whole rating system on STRs, and so if you get so many bad ratings, they just won't rent you houses anymore.
Well, we have
Owners won't.
We have an owner in our neighborhood who has, I think he currently has 3, he may have more, and he will go knock on their door.
Absolutely. And it's becoming more and more common that owners do that. I don't ever have that problem, but I've never had an owner knock on the door and tell us we had to be quiet, we're old. But we've stayed in a group, and we've, I've seen it happen. But yeah, it's crazy. That's the goal, is to hold the owners more accountable for what they're leasing to.
I want one more clarification, if I can, Dr. Smith. I also want to take this time to thank Councilman Foster and Councilman Person Jacobs for their work and all this. I think that goes hand in hand in showing everybody the hard work that the council does, just not at a council meeting, but
Behind the scenes.
above and beyond, and throughout the weeks and days to help manage our city and make great decisions. But this will, I just want to clarify, this will help collect also back taxes, is that correct?
Yeah, so one thing that's going to happen is, as we find these folks, we could have people that have been operating a number of years that have not been paying taxes. And if we find those, then we are able to, one of the things Avenue helps us do is collect the back taxes. So just recently, Mickey, correct me if I'm wrong, just recently we had someone that had been registered before, and they came in and realized their permit was expired. Well, now they get their new permit, and Avenue's like, well, you've been operating all this time, and so they had to pay those back taxes. There can be penalties associated with it. We will waive penalties when we start this, because the goal is to get everybody legal, get them registered, get their taxes up to date. But there should be a time, say August 1st or even September 1st, when we stop waiving all those penalties and we charge people for not getting registered, because it is taxing on our public services, no question. They just are.
I have another question. Back on, I think it was your first slide of bullet points, the third or fourth one was, the wording was unclear to me. Calling out unpermitted short-term rentals being prohibited. The wording is confusing to me.
So one of the things that our current ordinance does not do is, and this is silly, but simply say you cannot operate an unpermitted STR. Our current ordinance gives all the things you have to do, but it doesn't say you cannot operate one that is not permitted. And this will call out unpermitted short-term rentals being prohibited. So basically it says you cannot operate an STR without a permit, period.
But I think the way you just said it is so much more clear than that wording.
Yeah. This is a little overwhelming, putting this list together of differences. We went from, I think, a page and a half to like 4 pages or 5 pages, so I was trying to find all the little nuances. Yes, Ken?
Where does monitoring stop and enforcement begin?
I think if a neighbor calls PD, we're going, no question. We're going to do what our PD team, our officers are going to do what they have to do. The goal is to try to keep that from happening, right? What I want is the neighbors to call the 1-800 number and let's try to fix it. But if our police officers, if they don't get a response, they're going to call dispatch and we're going.
Well, let's say they find a home that's not been permitted, but they know they're being used, and who goes to them and say, hey, you've got to pony up here?
Yeah. Avenue will kick off that process, and if we have to get engaged, we absolutely can. Our building official, our code enforcement officer can do that. It's still an ordinance that our code enforcement officer can enforce. But Avenue has had great success. They do this with a number of cities, and I think you all know I came from Rowlett, and we had just moved. We used a different company. We already use Avenue, so it makes a lot of sense to continue using them. Their rates are very comparable. But we had just made this same move in my previous city, and we saw a lot of success with people want to do the right thing, and when you're getting called, it's a little harder to say, I'm not really an STR, when they can show you, hey, here's your ad. You're absolutely an STR. We need to get you, or we need to shut them down. So for me, it's a very hard line because it's unsafe, right? I don't want to stay in one that's not permitted. I don't want to stay in one that hasn't had an inspection. And we don't want, it's a little like, apartments that haven't been inspected and they're just rough, and we don't want that. So I think we do what we have to do, to be honest, Mr. Foster.
I love the slides that you had, too, that show the man hours. And again, I know sometimes I sound like a cheerleader for the city, but I am. It helps us to be much more efficient here at City Hall, to service all of our citizens in a much more efficient manner.
One back.
And when we're tied up doing stuff like this, it makes us ineffective in other areas. And I think this makes us, again, brings us up to speed, and $20,000 is nothing to, scoff at. And I just think, again, it makes us a much more efficient city hall and benefits everyone. And it's not like we're trying to keep people from making a living, but everyone's got to do it by the book.
Or that we're trying to make money off of these, right? We just have
Yes.
a lot of hard cost, and we're currently losing money in a city that is funded by sales tax, and there is no property tax to supplement that. We are currently losing money on a program that does benefit Gun Barrel and does benefit our sales tax.
I think at a minimum, we need to be breaking even.
At a minimum. And this is very common. People are going to, you saw the average night rental is $339. This is a weekend, right? This is one weekend out of, there's probably 20 weekends in Gun Barrel that you could rent a short-term rental because the weather's great and the lake's right here. So, and a lot of those are on the lake, so.
Do we really think that in the future, though, we might have to have additional staff in this area?
Potentially. I would argue that potentially there would have to be maybe even another code enforcement officer. Right now, they're managing it. I met with Joey and with Mike. We spent a lot of time. Joey Lindeman is our fire chief and our fire marshal, and Joey and I talked through it. And, that's their number one concern. Do they know where people are, and can they get them out if the house catches on fire? And that's worst case scenario, but that is reality. And, you end up with a house full of kids on the lake, and they can't get there because cars are parked in the street, and then they can't get them out because they don't know where they are, and they have kids sleeping on every airbed. That's why you do that. And, we have a lot. 136 is a lot of STRs in a community of, how many water meters? 3,500 water meters? 136 of those?
I would have guessed there was more than that, really.
Yeah. We had them check for us.
Well, and I think, too, that's why it makes the permit fee of $500 very valid when it's over $390 a night. I think that's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, Mr. Foster, we may find more. They did a very quick search to be
Right.
able to tell me.
Right.
It will be very interesting to see when they get their system running 24/7 trying to find
It
these.
will be.
How many more pop up that are one-offs, right? I only rented on July 4th weekend, or and that's something that, they just have the technology to do. We literally are on Airbnb and VRBO going, well, that looks like it's this address, or because you can't see it until you book it. So we either have to book every one of them, or we have to kind of take people's word for it that there's one here, there's one there. And, there's some, I truly believe there are some houses in Gun Barrel that were built specifically to be short-term rentals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I do too.
I'm sorry to be passed. So what would be, are we going to have a limit on how many tickets they get before we cut them off, or, I mean,
That is outlined in the policy, what the cause for revocation is. I don't remember, Ms. Kira, off the top of my head what that is, but there are guidelines. I mean, it's hard to say the number of tickets. After 10 tickets, you can't have an STR, because a lot of it has to do with the seriousness of the event as well, right? The great thing about Avenue is this is what they do. This is their business, and they do this for lots of communities around the United States, not just in Texas. They do it all over in every state. And so they have a lot of ways to work with people to get them to comply, right? And so our end goal is to get people to comply. Compliance is always number one. I don't want to revoke anybody's permit, because that's a hit to the pocketbook, and I know it. And it's one less rental here in town. You look at Dark at the Park weekend, there wasn't an STR available in Gun Barrel City. Most Canton weekends, there is not an STR available in this city, because people come and stay here, and that's awesome, right? It's great for us. It's great for our sales tax, and that's what we survive off of. But, there will have to be a line. I don't know if I'll have to look and see if the ordinance calls out what's the line for when we revoke it, but I know those are specifically called out in the.
Well, I've seen the water meters locked. That's a very effective way of getting people's attention.
Well, I think it just depends on the compliance of the involvement of the owner. They can't control, I mean, if you say, look, you can't have but 6 people in this home, and next thing you know, there's 12 there, well, I mean, and that happened 16 times that year. I mean, I don't think they're intentionally lying, but, as long as they're answering the phone and then addressing the issue, the concern,
gonna
and
be the
making
big
them
one.
compliance, I think that's fine. It's the ones that are not available, don't answer the calls, and don't make sure that their homes are in compliance will be the ones that you would.
And I think that's the critical. I think April is correct that the most important thing are the owners that aren't responsible, right? They only have this much rope about what their tenants do. They can read them the Riot Act, and I've seen it, right? They can read them the Riot Act. They can tell them they can't do all these things, but tenants are tenants, and they take a lot of rope. And it's those that are going to stop allowing them to take that rope and hold them accountable is going to be the most important.
Yeah, I think
And everyone is getting stricter on STRs. We are not the trailblazer here by any stretch. We are falling in line with what is becoming the norm.
Well, I appreciate all the staff work that's gone into this. There's a lot of work. The Arlington paper was quite lengthy, but there was a lot of stuff in there that was quite useful.
Yeah.
And so combining that with ours and coming up with a plan, I really think that we need to look favorably in the future upon this process and see if we can't make it work.
Well, and I think echoing what Councilman Foster's saying, and this will hold up if we find ourselves in a legal situation. This has stood the test of time, and I think that's a great benefit to us too, and gives us some assurance.
And here's the most important thing. We can't tell people they can't have STRs.
Right.
Right? That doesn't hold up in court. That much I can promise you. You can't say you can't, because Texas is very much a property owner right. You own this property, you have the right, but we want great guidelines that protect us and protect our residents and protect our visitors. And I think that's kind of what we have tried to accomplish with this, is a fair compromise of what's good for us and our staff and their safety, and what's good for the residents and the home they own and the visitor, to keep them from having to visit one of UT Health's ambulances. So that's the goal.
one more question.
You bet.
So do all reservations go through Avenue? I mean, if they walk in here and want to,
We're gonna direct them online to Avenue. Now, we just updated our system, so a lot of our permits are gonna be able to be done online now. We're in the process of updating MyGov, so even if we didn't do this, we're going to eventually be able to do all of this online. And so we'll just direct them to the Avenue website and get everybody updated. And it'll take us a little time. This isn't going to happen by June the 1st probably. It'll probably take us 30 days to get it set up and get everything rolling. And then it will kick in as you renew, right? So we're not going to call everybody June 1st and say, whoop, got to have $500 permit, come renew. We'll renew them as they're due to renew on our new system and get them up and running.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
Further discussion? Questions?
I do. On the parking restrictions, there is I think it's a short-term rental across the street from me. And last year, they keep it rented out all the time. But I don't know the people that came and had 3 boats. And they asked if they could use my lot to park the boats, which I didn't care.
Yeah.
But would that be against the law here?
Is it just a grass lot or?
It's just an empty lot.
it's tricky, right? Because our ordinance doesn't cover boats. And I went back and forth about what do we do with boats. But we allow our residents, I have not seen an ordinance that doesn't allow your residents to park their travel trailer or their boat on grass. And so the mayor and I had a very long conversation about vessels and how to handle boats or vessels. And the ordinance doesn't address that. It only addresses cars.
Does it say
So-
cars or it just says you can't park?
Says vehicles. I think is specifically how it says is that vehicles have to be parked.
Motor vehicle.
We can leave boats or vessels gray so that they could do that. I would think that an owner wouldn't let them just park a boat in the front yard, right? But at the same time, it's not necessarily an ordinance that we enforce that, I mean, my RV's sitting in my house in the grass right now, right? So I didn't add boats or vessels into this. I kind of stuck with it the way it was. We may have to come back and amend it if it becomes a problem and everybody's parking their boats in the front yard of their STRs. We may have to talk about it. But boats are a unique thing. And we're a unique community because we got a lake. And we don't really have anywhere you can park a boat. So, can't even talk, but, so there you go. Somehow
I think
I'm
that's
feeling I'm gonna
a
hear
great
that
point too.
again.
This will be a little bit of a fluid thing also as
will.
we move forward.
I think it will. Rita, I honestly didn't know the answer to that question, and so I avoided it.
Well, I don't even know if the people that own the boats rented the property. They just might have been down for a visit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great question. Any further discussion?
Is there any interest from council to increase the maximum number of people? So currently, the ordinance is written that it would be a max of 12. Is there any interest in council of upping that potentially to 14?
Well, if we currently have one, you said, what, 7-bedroom?
I believe that we have one that's 7-bedroom, and I would like to get ahead of it instead of have to come back and say, oh, wait, we got a problem right off the bat, so. Yeah, you could do that, or you could cap it at 14 and 2 per bedroom plus 2, but the cap is 14. I mean,
Yeah, I definitely don't think you can leave, in my opinion, if we do have one, you can't leave it at 12, because it's not fair that they leave one bedroom open. And a lot of times, I don't know about here, but short-term rentals sometimes have more than one bed in a room, and we're still only
do.
allowing 2 occupants.
They do.
Per room. So I think you need to at least do minimum of,
I mean, 14 is a lot of people. That's potentially 7 cars, right?
well, if they can
5
park
to
it, if
7
they can
cars,
park
and-
it in the driveway.
You're still going to have a problem because you can only park on an improved surface. So, but is there an interest of council for me to bump that up to 14 in the ordinance?
I think you should.
Okay.
I agree, but I also think it ought to be checked with our fire marshal to see, is that too many people to get out?
It would be
short
no
period of
different than
time.
you having a 7-bedroom house and having 2 people in each bedroom,
Or
right?
you have a hotel
Yeah.
that has all those
As long as the
people in a hotel.
proper egress is there, I don't think you,
Yeah, as long as there's proper egress, and that's part of why the layout of the dimensions is so important, because that's what we have on file so that we can do anything we need to do if there is ever an emergency.
Well, like I said, I don't have any problem changing it to 14. You could ask Joey just to
Yeah,
confirm.
I can
but
for sure.
I think that
I absolutely
if we
can
have
ask
one
him.
that's already 7 bedrooms,
I agree.
then that needs at least be 14.
And I heard that this weekend, and so I don't want to cap it at 12 and be like, oh, now we've messed, it was built for that, and it has 7 bedrooms, But I'm not opposed to doing 14 and capping it there. That's 2 people per bedroom.
And we are going to make sure, assuming there be a place on our website, because again, how would the neighbors know who to call?
Yes.
Instead of calling the
And
PD?
they will also, Avenue will help us with a mail-out campaign to everybody that says, hey, if you have a problem and you believe it's an STR, here's the number, we can check that. But we will increase that information on one thing, and the next thing is to roll out our new website. And Brooke has spent a lot of time making sure we have better information about trash, better information on how to get water, better information. Junked ordinance is something we worked on today, the vehicle ordinance. So this is something that we will make every effort to get more information out to our residents.
Okay.
And they can always call, of course. We'll be happy to answer questions.
Right, but they never call until it's 9 o'clock at night and they got a problem, so then they can't call us or
And
call the
that's
city.
one of the
so-
reasons
Yep.
we're taking the format we're taking, because I wanted to have the conversation tonight instead of us try to have the conversation and approve the ordinance.
Right.
This is public, right? If they have questions, they can call me. If I catch something that's, between now and then, somebody calls me and says, oh my God, I got a 10-bedroom house, what am I gonna do about that? We still have the May meeting, the meeting at the end of May on the Tuesday after Memorial Day, that we can make some amendments and have another conversation. If you think of anything between now and then, shoot me an email and let me fix some of that before we get to that meeting. Or somebody comes to you as you're their representative and says, oh no, this is a problem. Well, let's talk about it. Not everybody's gonna like it. It is more expensive. The restrictions are a little harder, but it will help us protect not only the people that own those homes, but the people that own the homes around them. So,
Any further discussion on item 2B?
Nope.
Dr. Smith, great job as always. I'd also like to remind everyone that I know this is a special time of year, and everyone, or most everyone, probably knows someone that has someone that's graduating. And I would also like to take this opportunity to mention that we have one of our own. We're all very, very proud. Dr. Smith will be receiving her doctorate in San Diego. I'll never live that down, but that's just fine. Congratulations, by the way.
going to San Diego, yes.
Much deserved.
Saturday.
Item 2C, a presentation of our new website, as mentioned earlier.
Okay, I'm going to let Brooke come up. I think she's actually going to go to Janet's seat and show you our brand-new website. Brooke has spent a lot of hours updating this website. This process started before I came here, and the team, all of the team, not just Brooke, she put together a website team of department heads and people from departments and started creating a brand-new site with a brand-new look. That's part of the shirts that you have sitting at your seat. We will have those going forward at events to hand out. Gun Barrel is moving to a .gov website. But .gov is currently broken, and I don't know how else to put it. But for some reason, .gov is having a problem, and they can't register our site. So for right now, it is still .net, and you will always, I think for all of time, be able to type in gunbarrelcity.net and still get to this website that you see tonight. But hopefully within the next little bit, if it wasn't fixed today, hopefully within the next little bit, it will be fixed and it will be gunbarrelcity.gov, which gives us all the security we need to not have to worry about being a .net site and getting hacked and all that. So we get some added protections with .gov. But the team, and y'all, I kid you not when I tell you they met every single Friday for hours on end to get this website set up. If you see a mistake, just send us an email. Don't yell, don't tell your neighbor, just send us an email and we'll get it fixed. We've all been through this. We invited several members of our community to go through it that hadn't been looking at it every month for months and months and months. Miss Weller was one, Gilbert Shelby was one. There were a number of people who then poured through it for us to make sure that we hadn't said something silly. But I'll turn it over to Brooke, and Brooke's gonna go through it for you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. They've done a beautiful job designing our website. They've added a lot of elements that I think is really true to our city, and It's really just become beautiful for me to and everyone to see. The first thing that you go to when you're going to go to our new website is going to be this landing page here. This is our home page. I love everything that they've done with this. They have added the little guns here behind each of the words from our logo, and they've taken elements of our logo and put it on different things as well as the buttons down here. Hover over those the circles, they add the little stars to the end like our logo has. Another cool feature of this is when you refresh the page, the pictures will actually alternate. So every time it's like you're going to a fresh new site on the web page, and you get a beautiful new picture that represents Gun Barrel City or Department of Gun Barrel City. When you scroll down on it, you're going to get to a news section. This area we can put things like, for example, we're unveiling our new website. I put the election results, new policy on junk vehicles, and a fun little story about Mayor Kroll visiting our local elementary school to host the talent show. Here, I'll open up this one here. This gives us the opportunity to kind of write a small little story about what's happening in our city and update everybody. The next part, we've got a meetings calendar for all of the meetings. So your guys' meeting was on here tonight, but since it's technically over according to the website, it's not on there anymore. But your regular meeting is on there for the 28th. You can click on it and then find information about all of the meetings and a request to speak form and such about the website there. And then events, we've got a cool little event for Lone Star Mowing Racing Association. They can find out the location and all that good stuff. So just a cool little calendar. This will be a good place to put, right now it's used for pictures, but we'll probably put some flyers for July Fest and such on there as well. And then the bottom just has quick links for different pages within the site. And then I go back up to the top here, which has different tabs. We've got the government tab. You guys probably are used to going to our current website. This is going to look really familiar to what you're used to. This will be changing soon. But as of right now, it's going to look just the same as what you're used to. The city council, all those meetings come up here. Next, we made a large update to all of our boards and actually put the application for any of the boards as a fillable form online that will directly email to Janet about, directly email the form to Janet, and you can also upload any resumes if you want to as well. So that will be on there. We also included a lot more information about the Board of Adjustments, the members' duties, who the members are, more information about their meetings, an overview of the board. We also included all the resources that we give members when they first join, so that they can go back to here, and if somebody is interested in joining that board, they can go here and read about all the things that we give them. So we've done that for Board of Adjustments, the Park and Recreation Board as well, and the Planning and Zoning Commission. Next is your guys' page, the City Council. It's not, let me see. Well, there was a nice big picture of you guys right here, but it didn't populate. I don't know why, but we'll figure that out. And it actually includes direct links to your guys' contact information and your bios that you guys provided me. Since Jennifer's not here, we'll just click on Jennifer's, but it has a nice picture of her, her bio, and then her contact information in a way that they can email her. And all of you guys have that as well, Brian, April, April hasn't, I haven't added her bio yet, but it's getting there.
I think it's
this-
terrible.
The city employment
Manager.
tab we've also updated, so that has a lot of, we've updated that, and it has our open position, so if you click on that, it'll take you to this page, and people can find out what jobs we have available and a whole bunch of information. The format of this is so nice compared to what we've had before, because we can toggle this on and off, and it makes it a lot quicker and faster for us to be able to update our open positions. The next tab, I'm going to go to departments. It's going to have all of our departments in it. We've got updates with the building department. I added some stuff under the city planner. I'm still adding a lot more information. I added about information about how you can get a variance through the Board of Adjustments. And I also added direct links to all of our zoning districts. We have a lot of calls of people trying to figure out what their zoning is and where, and so this page will be really helpful for residents moving forward to be able to go directly to their zoning district in our code. The city managers page also did not load the picture. There was one, I don't know why, but we've updated that.
Have we been hacked?
We've been
No, I don't think so.
She gave me access today, so I deleted my picture.
Well, Janet's picture's loaded here, so. But, and this is just some more, we've updated that. I want to move, the city treasurer, she had a lot of stuff on there already that was, her page was already really built out on the original website, so it's just an exact copy of that. Code enforcement updated a lot of information about what he does and how to get in touch, and a lot of additional information and a nice friendly picture of him, which I'm sure he loves. The court did so much work. They really built out their page and provided residents with just a lot of information so that they can go to the website and learn about whatever it is that they're needing the court to help them with, and just has provided a lot of resources for them too, just to help them handle their court stuff. Then the park. We added a way to be able to fill out the special event permit online so that they do not have to fill it out and bring it to us or try to email it to us. We added a lot of information about the utilities and services under residents. One of the great ones here is with Republic Waste. They actually provided quite a bit of information about what they offer, about recycling, about the guidelines for bulk pickup and the services, and how to appropriately put out your bulk pickup items, and just quite a bit of information. We also provided direct links to the Power to Choose and East Cedar Creek Freshwater Supply for water. So when a new resident comes to our area, they can go directly to that. Under our community, we've added a lot of information. One of the things that we've added is July Fest is going to be under here once you guys got presented to it. We're going to be going live here soon, so that information will be added to that. We also had some, one of the local committees, the beautification committee, they gave us some information and updated it on there. We updated this How Do I? We provided contacts to people. A lot of times people call us and we're like, we don't know how to get a hold of this person. Well, we've got direct links now for our website and how to apply for jobs, a special event, a board and commission, how they can find us, and all that good stuff. We are constantly working on it still. It's finished and it's usable and it's great, and I'm still updating things. And the great thing about Civic Plus is that we can go in and change anything very easily. Before, we had to kind of do it blindly and then hope that we change the right thing. This way we can, we actually get to like edit it live. So we are editing what we are looking at. And it's been great, and the abilities of this site far surpasses what we've had before, and it has been a great addition, I think, for us. So if you guys have any questions for me, or if you have any suggestions that we can add, I will be happy to talk to you guys about it and work with you guys on it.
It goes live tomorrow, Brooke, 10 a.m.?
11.
It is supposed to go live tomorrow at 11 a.m. So Brooke is still hard at work. If you see something that's wonky or that's stated funny, I probably wrote it, just send us an email and we will tighten it up a little bit. I appreciate the folks that helped us with this, that read it, that looked at it, that went through it. I appreciate you more than you know, because we have looked at it so much that if something was misspelled, we would have never seen it. I got through about 5 or 6 pages and was like, Brooke, we have to find somebody that can do this because my attention span is 5 minutes. So we did that, and I appreciate everybody, the folks that got asked to do that and participated, because as you can tell, there is no lack of tabs to go through to find information. So it was quite time consuming, I'm sure, and I really, really do appreciate it.
This morning, I found out that I had spelled city planner wrong. And I think Ken wanted to see his picture here, so we're just gonna.
Kate,
Thank you.
Kate Weller was one of the ones that went through it. Kate has asked if she can say a few words. I told her sure.
I just want to say, besides being happy to go through the website, the ease with which you can sign up for things on this website to get certain alerts from the city is so simple and so bulletproof that even an almost 75-year-old who is technically challenged could do it. So good job, just great job.
I wanted to show you,
Thank you, Kate.
what Kate was talking about. I put an article out on the news, and you can click here for Notify Me.
I promise you can read that on any website,
Yeah.
except the one that's run by the Windows 7 down there.
But if you click on this link, it's a news article. If you click Notify Me, you should, if it loads, be able to sign up for notifications. So you can get text notifications for meetings. You can get text notifications for events. You can get text notifications for job listings and any of the news flash stories that we post. And it's just another way to keep residents connected with the city. So, and it's an awesome tool, and I'm excited for people to use it.
Is that City Fix It or whatever it's called? where you can
Yes, see,
put
click
potholes? Is it
fix,
on
I
there
saw
somewhere?
that.
Yes, that
In the
is
street
going
department.
Streets?
Yep, right there on the right side. See, click fix right there, down, there you go. I do think we should definitely somehow showcase that, you know what I'm saying, so everybody can find that easy, for
That's,
sure.
yeah, that's an important one.
Yep. They have, the street department also updated their page and added some information about culverts and driveway tie-ins, but they also have a link to their See-Click Fix portal on here as well.
Is there a way in there too, because I think you can get an app, if they could click through there to get the app to download on their phone or send them to their Play Store? Because I know that if you use the app, it'll even where you're, if you're standing in the road where the hoe is, it will like notify them of the location even, so on your phone would be better.
Yep.
One of the other great things about this website is it also works on your phone. So you're not going to pull it up and every being be tiny. It has a mobile version. So while there's not an app per se, they had an app for a while and it was horrible. And so they just went to a mobile version of their website. The mobile version of our current website is amazing. If you've ever used it, it's much easier to actually use on your phone than it is on your computer. But this one it makes it much easier. It becomes mobile friendly on your iPad, on your mobile phone. And it adjusts it so it doesn't squeeze it down so little that you can't see it. So it works really well on your phone as well.
Further discussion or questions? Brooke, amazing job as always. And I have to, again, brag on, we have probably the greatest staff in America. They do an incredible job. They work really, really hard. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Miss Rainey. And, yes.
Takes a village.
Before we get out here, also, I was remiss and I did not introduce some of our distinguished guests, and that's Mr. Roy Key, our president of our EDC. There he is in raging glory. Go Red Raiders. And Ms. Weller, who spoke earlier. She is chairperson of our Planning and Zoning Committee and a member of our EDC and Planning and Zoning, but soon to be up here with all of us, Mr. Jay Burson. And so we'd like to welcome everybody and thank you. Everybody have safe travels, and this meeting is now adjourned.
He doesn't.
Not for us.